everyone, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant, and I'm very happy to be here today to start talking about the Cups cards. Now, Cups cards are all about water. Now, we've seen water as a symbol throughout the tarot cards that we've studied, but this is where it really comes to the forefront. The Cups cards are associated with the water signs, so Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. So all of these Cups cards have water as their foundation. So what does that mean in tarot? Well, water, as we've seen, often symbolizes the inner self, the eternal. And that's what we're talking about here in the Cups cards, because as you've probably seen in some of the readings I've done online, and as you may know, Cups cards are all about love. They're about emotion. They're about those emotional things in life, about joy and happiness and fulfillment. And they're an integral part of the tarot because they are the thread, the river that runs through our lives as our eternal nature. Now, we've had signs that talk about, passion and about movement and about money, material things. And these are all life forces, but the Cups cards talk about the eternal. They talk about the ways in which our life has meaning beyond the physical. Now, other cards sort of address that, but this is where it becomes deeper, more meaningful, and more emotionally tied to our inner selves. So these cards are often about love. And, what's more lovely than love? And what's more eternal than love? Because love is the driving force of the universe. When the universe, if you could take it down to its most basic element, it is love. And so these cards are able to talk about that, to talk about it in our lives and in our eternal natures. And you'll see that throughout these cards. That doesn't mean that everything about the Cups cards is completely, rosy and wonderful, because cards are always instructional. And they always speak to us about the things that we are going through. So, there are cards that talk about these different aspects of love and the different ways in which emotion and happiness or even unhappiness plays out in our lives. Now, these Cups cards are highly symbolic. All the cards are symbolic, but you'll see in these cards a lot of sort of traditional Christian iconography. You'll see the cups just in general that really look like a chalice. And the whole idea of water as purifying, as eternal, is something that we talk about in all religions, really. I haven't gone into a lot about some of the very traditional, very Kabbalistic symbolism that's in a lot of these Rider-Waite cards and in tarot cards in general. But we can get into that in some further lessons, some classes that I hope to teach. It can be helpful, but again, having these basics can really allow you to read, and sometimes you don't want to get bogged down too much in the very detailed symbolism. However, it can help you as well. So I just don't want you to feel that you have to know every single bit of symbolism to begin reading for yourself or even for others. So let's go ahead and start talking about these Cups cards. Now, first you get this Ace of Cups, and it's lovely. As with all of these ace cards, and as you can see in this card, there is this hand, this gift hand. And it is bringing this gift of love to you. You can see here we have, again, this very Christian symbolism where there is the cup that looks like the chalice. It even has that Holy Grail feel to it. There's also the dove, this dove of peace, this dove of purity, this dove of love, and even the wafer. And the ideas of the cups overflowing, the very symbolic, very reminiscent of the Lord's Prayer. My cup runneth over. And here my cup runneth over with love into this water below that is this eternal nature of water that is ever changing. I mean, water in a river, especially, this flowing water is ever changing and yet ever constant. There's the old story or rhyme or allegory of, why can't a man ever set foot in the same river twice? And it's because it's always changing, right? The person is changed and the river is changed. So it's never exactly the same, and yet it is a constant. And that's very true of this. What this card is saying is that this gift of love, this gift of purity, this gift of joy and happiness is both eternal and ethereal, because in our lives we have different instances of love and joy, people who come into our lives and go out of our lives, situations that come into our lives and go out of our lives. So the constant is this eternal nature of love and joy and happiness, of kindness, of giving, of support. That's eternal. And yet these experiences that we have in life are sometimes temporary, often temporary. And this card is offering that to you, this eternal nature and this somewhat temporary or ethereal nature. So you'll often get this card when people are asking about relationships, when they're asking, if somebody could have come into my life, am I ever going to have this, or what is there, that is offered to me in the way of love. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get this card when we're talking about things like jobs or even home life, or home. You get different cards depending on what this person that you're reading for or yourself needs, what the spirit world, what their guides, what those who know the bigger picture, because they're in the non-physical world, want to say to this person. And so there's different ways to say that, depending on what the main message here is. So you could get this card in relation to a job or a home, because it's this gift of happiness, of joy, of love in some form. And so if you see this card in a reading when somebody is asking about a relationship, it's a promise, right? It's a gift. Yes, this is coming to you. Yes, this person is coming to you. Or no, don't give up. Please don't give up. Things are coming. It's available to you. Love is a gift that is available to you. And that's what this Ace card is saying. That's the promise that it makes to whoever you're reading for. And it's the hope that we associate with love, because love ultimately is hopeful. And that's a beautiful message. And it's just the beginning of the beautiful messages in these Cups cards. So now we come to the Two of Cups, and this is another lovely card. I'll be saying that about all these Cups cards because they really are. They're quite lovely, and they bring a lot of wonderful messages. Now this Two of Cups, as you can see, it's probably pretty obvious what it's about. Now in many ways, and you can see just by the way that it looks, this Two of Cups is somewhat of the lesser, not a great word, but I'll go ahead and use it, the lesser version of the Lover's card. Now in the Lover's card, you have this angel figure that stands sort of above and around the two figures on the card. And here you have this lion's head, and it's a little bit different, obviously, and yet it speaks in many ways about the same things. Because here what you're talking about is the same kind of passion and energy and love, but it's talking more about the beginning. So obviously this is a perfect card to get if somebody is asking about a relationship coming into their life, or the sort of the validity or possibility of relationship that they're just entering into. And this speaks very positively about that. Obviously, you can see the man and the woman holding these cups. So it's talking about this possibility of love, this seeing eye to eyes. You can look at these figures. They're seeing eye to eye. So that's the compatibility part. Now, there's more to this card, though, because, again, cups talk about these eternal things, that these bigger questions that just involve love and passion and possibility. So here you've got these two symbols, the man and the woman, that really symbolize different parts of our nature. Women are often a symbol of sensitivity and our inner selves and emotion and intuition. And for men, the symbolism around the male figure is about intellect. It's often about drive, that passionate drive, like doing something, action, right? So here you have those two parts that are coming together in this way that is positive and loving and good. And so you could see this when you're talking about somebody combining those two elements of themselves, when you're asking a question about yourself or your client that is speaking to them needing to use or tap into both sides of their nature. You could see this in a job, reading, somebody asking about a job, when we're having to talk about the ways in which you will need to approach that job. Both the sensitive and the intuitive and the intellectual and the fiery. So this is talking about that as well. But in general, we tend to see this card as a card of new relationships, the possibility of relationships, often fiery. I mean, you can see the red, like lion's head. It's this powerful sexual energy. So it's often very much about passion, a strong attraction and things that can grow in a very positive way, in a very loving way. And that's why it comes across as cups and not some other, fire sign, because it is this deeper nature. Even though, the beginning of relationships are often very powerful and fiery and passionate, but this speaks to that, as well as the possibility of a much deeper, longer lasting, loving relationship. And again, these talk about ourselves as well. As I've mentioned, this talks about the dual nature of ourselves, loving ourselves, respecting those two parts of ourselves, and using them in the best possible way to achieve the deepest and most meaningful things in our lives, and again, in our relationships. So it's a very beautiful and meaningful card, and actually there's a lot more to it than you might recognize at first glance. So there you have it. We are done with our first tutorial on the Suit of Cups. Next time we'll talk about the 3, 4, 5, and 6 cards in the Suit of Cups, and they really are just as lovely as the cards we just talked about. I'll also have some other videos coming up, another Psychic Sisters video, and some other things I'll be announcing soon, taking new clients. So if you're interested in having a reading from me, you'll be able to do that very soon, I promise. And we'll have a bunch of other stuff coming up. So I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you'll subscribe, come back again. And until next time, I'm Kris, and I'm your Cardvoyant. Bye for now.